grandfather coach.
Yeah.
So,
Peter,
anyway.
is this something you need to hit for the, never mind.
We can hear you, Ron.
My wife is liable to call and say, hey, the sound isn't on. Anyway, it's on. Okay, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and may we have a prayer?
Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek. And keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay, the agenda. The first item on the agenda is reorganization of the Board of Selectmen. We don't have all 5 of us here. Your thoughts are?
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend, I think it's important to have all 5 of us here. So hopefully Alan, who can't join us tonight, will be back at our next meeting, and I'd suggest we hold reorganization until then.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on that, or just automatically put it on our next agenda?
Mike,
That's your call.
I would say
should
that,
we make a motion for that?
I think the chairman can just say it's tabled today.
Right.
Okay.
Along with revoting the policies.
Correct.
oh, okay, yes,
Yep.
I
yes.
decree the
Yes,
chairman
yes.
is tabling that till next meeting.
Yes, yes. It is done. Boom.
That was easy.
Okay. Our next item is a Verizon poll hearing on Main Street, and we have some paperwork on that.
Yes, we do.
And so,
Yes, we do.
what is our direction on that?
Anyone representing? Oh, here we go, sorry. Come on up, sir. Just introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name's Barry Maffini, and I'm here representing Verizon this evening on this matter.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Sure.
It
You
comes out of the
gotta
holder,
come
too.
close to it. so
Okay.
people hear you.
For the record, again, my name is Barry Maffini, and I'm here representing Verizon on this project relative to the road work that's going to happen out here on Main Street. And it's simply a relocation. There's a pole relocation that's going to happen because of the road work. And there's cables that have to be rearranged, and conduit, which is what's before you tonight, has to be placed in order to accommodate those rearrangements. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and
Okay.
entertain them.
Any questions?
As far as these, sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead,
thank you.
Sarah. Shoot.
So just to be clear, this is for the Route 58 upgrade that's going to take place?
That's correct.
And the redirection of roads and different
Right,
things?
right. This particular work is right down in front of Center, where Center Street comes out onto
Right.
58. I'm not familiar with exactly what's going to happen with the road work, but the engineering folks have
Yeah, we are.
gotten together, and there's a pole that has to be relocated, and unfortunately, it has an existing riser on it, so that has to be reworked, if you will.
And I just want to make sure if there are any abutters here, they have a chance to speak since it's a public
Okay,
hearing.
we can do that. Let's do the board first.
I was just going to ask, as these things go, is there anything more unusual about this than any other time when you have to move a pole or?
No, not really. Seems to be, and I don't know what has triggered it. I'm sure you have the answers to that better than I, but there's a lot of road work, reconstruction and so forth that's been going on in the last few years, and it looks like it's going to continue, and this is very typical of things that happen when roads get rebuilt, widened, and intersections, revamped and that sort of stuff.
There's going to be a sidewalk on that side of the street too, so.
Pretty
Both
much
sides.
says this work is necessary to accommodate the MassDOT project, so.
Okay, good.
And there's no abutters here?
Mr. Malinowski?
This also benefits the location of the fire station and the access to that. That's another reason why it's supposed to be.
Okay. Do we have any abutters or any folks that need, or would like to speak on this motion? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been seconded and made and seconded. Do you have any other questions, discussion? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, 4-0 line.
And we have
Thank
to
you very
sign
much.
Miss Lynn, do you need to see us signing? You're gonna watch, okay. There's two. Wow, much faster. Yes, that was 1, 2, 3, 4 to 0.
Boy, I scribbled that one.
It's better than Ron's.
Looks the same every time.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the town administrator's update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can I have our DPW Director, John Woods, come up and join me?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you forgot the initial public comment period.
Ooh, can we hold just for a second, John? Do we have any folks from the public that would like to comment on the agenda or an item prior to our discussions? Okay, thank you. Mr. Malinowski?
Mr. Woods?
We get to
Deja
it.
vu.
I'm going to just do a quick introduction here, but John has been very busy with his team in trying to prepare for some major projects this year following our long winter with lots of snow. First, last year we didn't spend any money on any major money on paving projects. Primarily, we wanted to focus on the Route 58 project, see how that was going, and as a result, we're able to save that to this year. So what John's going to talk about is we're going to be looking to spend about $1 million, up to almost $1 million, to do many road projects in the town, which includes the entire length of Tremont Street, dealing with 2 sections that'll be completely repaved and a 3rd section that will be crack sealed, and also for Meadow Street from Route 58, doing a complete resurfacing all the way down to Pope Road. I've also met with Gary Garrettson, who's the chairman of the Earth Removal Committee. They're going to be voting later on this month to possibly contribute $140,000 to this, in essence paying for half of the Meadow Street project. That's about $278,000, and they'd be looking to pay for half of that. So, again, we've been planning this. We want to get this done in the month of June. We already have bids that we've contracted out last year, and I'm going to have John provide any more details on that, and as well as these roads will all be restriped, lined, and you're up.
That's correct. So yes, we'll be paving 2 sections of Tremont Street. One section will be from where the Berry Guys are located all the way up to the Wareham line. The other section will be from Erickson's Ice Cream down to Pine Ridge Way. And then from Pine Ridge Way to the Plymouth Town line will be crack sealed. And then when it's all done, it will be relined, repainted. All the structures will be put risers on them for the new surface to bring all of the manholes and catch basins up to grade. Same with Meadow Street. There's no structures to be taken care of, but it will be resurfaced and repainted. That will be done by T.L. Edwards.
Meadow Street will be right from 58 all the way around?
To the Pope's Point intersection.
Okay.
And again, we've asked the Earth Removal Committee to pay for half of that. And that's something that the chairman was very interested in doing, and he preferred to do that road, and he's going to ask his committee for approval of that later this month.
I might make a comment on that. It's good that the public knows that that is money that has come from earth removal to help on the roads.
Yes, and the other money comes from Chapter 90.
Dick, could you take a minute and just actually elaborate on that, how that money's done from the Earth Removal Committee? Because I know you go to many of those meetings.
Well, any commercial earth that's removed pays the town 25 cents a yard for that, and that goes into that rotating fund so that it's available for the roads. And if it isn't used this year, that it doesn't go back into the general fund. It stays right there to be continued to use, because the money's coming from, we're saying if there's abuse from trucks using our roads, then they need to be contributing towards the upkeep of our roads. So that basically is what happens. And in the case of agriculture, it's 10 cents a yard that goes into that. And so it's good that we tell folks that there is some benefits coming from that. And I might go further. The trucks and they're already paying road taxes. We're told that if we tried to raise that to the point where it wasn't economically feasible for the truckers to be paying it, they'd probably take us to court, and they could very well win. But these funds come in because it's a reasonable kind of balance with what we need to help with the roads and the trucks that are using them. This is just but earth removal. Now, you know, all the trucks that, the trash trucks and everything go to CMAS, that's nothing to do with that.
So this is really a good example of a public-private partnership where there is a willingness to donate, if you will, contribute money to cover the road repairs that these vehicles make.
Right.
And this allows us to get more work done.
I don't know when the last time, it was it a year ago that the earth removal fund contributed money to?
2 years, I believe.
2 years? Okay.
And John, what's the thickness of the
Inch and a half.
inch and a half across all these roads? The other piece is this summer on Route 58, heading south down towards Tremont Street, relatively the road's in good condition. There are a few isolated spots that have popped up, you know, maybe the size of this table, so they're big issues, but they're in isolation. So the DPW this summer is going to be going through and actually, you know, carving out those sections and then repaving. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna cut those sections out and we'll repave them, just to save a little money rather than pave that whole road where, like Michael said, it's in pretty good shape other than a couple isolated areas. I think it will just save a little bit of money in paving to do it that way. And we're looking to get our paving done by mid-June, just so you know.
So we're trying to do bigger projects, and it's a way of just making the money extend a little bit longer. So again, you know, there's a few spots in here, but it doesn't justify redoing the whole roadway. And if we can get another 5 years out of it with doing these things, that's great. And we can focus on some other back roads that need to be done.
Very good, John. Anybody else have any other questions?
Well, thank you, John. I just wanted to point out that you said the rest of the money for the bigger projects is Chapter 90, and I just like to always remind people that's our state aid for roads and bridges, and so that's our tax dollars too coming back to the town, which is also kind of a nice thing to remember.
Also, we'll be receiving some Winter Rapid Recovery Program money. We get about $64,000. That's also from the state, and we'll be using that to do some line painting and more crack sealing.
That has to be spent by June 30th as well.
Yes, and also we'll be buying some sign poles and whatnot to have in stock at the shop.
Yep.
I have been asked a couple of times by some of our local citizens about potholes that came up during the winter. And I believe, Michael, you mentioned at one point that there might have been state money made available that could be used towards that. Where, relative to getting the potholes and stuff, where are we at with that?
That's the winter rapid recovery
Okay,
money
that's
can be
part of
used for
that as
that.
well?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And do you have sort of like an attack plan for the town to sort of, I mean, have you identified yet where you need the crucial points are?
Unfortunately, it's everywhere after this winter. We do have a couple bad spots that we are focusing on, along with the crack ceiling, the same thing, so.
So certainly citizens can feel free to give you a call and let you know if they feel they have a
Absolutely. They know
local
they always
area
can.
that needs to be addressed.
And they can call you and thank you for that work.
If they'd like to, I would appreciate that very much.
While we have him here, I get some questions sometimes about exactly what is the Route 58 project? Could you briefly give us a sense of when it's going to start and exactly, we talk about the sidewalk running up 58 and so forth, maybe from where to where exactly what it's going to be, because I think it's been in the news, but not everyone has a real understanding of exactly what's involved with it.
All right, not to pass it off to Michael, but I think he could probably elaborate a little bit better than I could.
Right. What you're gonna have is, up near the, Purchase Street intersection, that intersection is gonna be completely redone with new signals put in that intersection. That was additional money we had to put into this to make sure that those signals were put in. From there, we are gonna have one sidewalk on one side of the street, and when it gets to, Plymouth
Which
Street,
side of the street's that going to be?
South side.
The school side,
East.
okay.
and then that's gonna convert
west
into
side.
a concrete sidewalk the rest of the way. So one of the cost savings thing that had to be done is part of these sidewalks will be asphalt where there's less traffic, and in front of the schools and in this part of the town, they're gonna be cement,
And how far does it continue south?
Yeah, down to South Meadow Street.
South Meadow Road.
South Meadow Road. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get this for you.
And it's gonna look like, that sidewalk's gonna look like it does in Plimpton. That's my understanding, because it's the same people doing, I don't know if you've ever driven through Plimpton Center, but it's really quite nice.
And we'll keep updates on our website
Okay.
as we go along.
And when's that supposed to start?
Well, the funding is available. Mass Highways opened the contracts. They're in the process of negotiating with the contractors. They actually have a long window. They have over a year window before they actually start. We're hoping it starts this year, but we don't have a definitive
Okay.
date yet. Once we get that, that information, we'll make sure it's posted.
Do we,
But our responsibility for this is really not much at all.
Okay.
Because Mass Highway has an on-site project engineer overseeing that. They'll coordinate with John for a few little things that may need to be moved here and there. They may have extra material for John, or they may need something from him. But pretty much, this is an independent project being run by the state, controlled by the state, using state money. And there's not a lot of responsibility for the town now that we've designed the
Okay.
project.
Thank you.
And there's gonna be sidewalks on both sides of the street in the center here.
Center of town. Mhm.
Yeah.
And also a small little recreational area in front of the library, where we're gonna have a little section.
Okay.
Two other things while I have John here is, John, if you wanna just talk about the upgrade to the gas pumps that you're gonna be doing?
Yep, I'll be meeting with the gentleman from Gas Boy tomorrow, and from Voltas Oil, we'll be doing the upgrade of the gas pumps. It's basically just gonna be an upgrade in software, and every employee will have their own fobs key, just so everybody can be a little bit more accountable for fuel usage. So that meeting is tomorrow morning.
So both John and Elaine have been working on putting that together. We've already issued the bid to go forward. It's just a matter of scheduling that to be done, but it'll help John provide more accountability for the fuel. And, as you've seen with some of the budget items, we're tracking it very well, and this is only gonna help us track it better.
Okay.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, just while I have John here, and I think Sarah may want to comment on this too, is for the playground update, because John is also overseeing the facilities, the town facilities as well, with Jerry. We had a site visit last week with Sarah, myself, John, Jerry, Chris Vincent, and the police chief to talk about the upgrades to the playground,
Fire-
as well as putting in a...
Fire chief.
Fire chief, sorry, fire chief. Sorry, Mark, you weren't there. As well as putting in the new water line that'll go from our well all the way across the street to the fire station.
That's correct.
Two of you want to give some updates on that?
I'll just stop by saying Dig Safe came Friday and marked it all out for us. We're a little busy this week taking care of the cemeteries and stuff for Memorial Day weekend, but we plan on starting that the following week. So,
Yeah.
digging for the water line, I mean.
Right. Thank you, John. Yeah, and it's been a long winter. I know we ordered the equipment before Christmas. It only arrived in February, and all we had to do was just wait 3 years, no, for the snow to melt.
Right.
But it's finally here. We're going to have some upgrades to the seesaw. We're getting a couple of new features, and a few other little bits and pieces that have broken over
Little
time.
repairs to be made, yep.
I mean, the playground's 15 years old, so things like that happen. We are going to get a small water feature. I'm trying to dispel the rumor that we're getting some enormous and expensive water park. We're getting a pole, a single pole that you push, it's a
Misting
push
pole.
button activated. It should help, though, a lot in the hot summers. Not a lot of shade. A lot of playgrounds don't have shade. And so I think that's going to be a nice addition, and it'll be enclosed in a small fence area, so the parents can feel safe when their kid's in there, because it will be outside the main playground area. And that'll have a new bench where the parents can watch. And there's another little spinning item where kids can have a blast getting dizzy.
Also, all new mulch will be going in also.
All new mulch, a ton of mulch, 900 cubic yards.
This is that special.
It is. It's a handicapped accessible mulch, correct. Yep. For wheelchair accessible.
Bug-free.
And bug-free, because it's barkless, yeah. Right.
So we're proposing right now that the playground will be closed the first week of June. And Sarah's been working on getting some signs for that.
Yep.
And, we just want to keep all kids off of it during that first week, which is, kind of the time that we're looking to have some of the heavy equipment on the site beyond the water line that's being done.
Right. And we're just getting a main offshoot of the big water line for the little play feature. It's 2 gallons per minute. Apparently very minimal.
Very
not
minimal,
gonna
yeah.
be
It's just a
any
misting
big deal.
station is all it is.
Right. And mentioning the signs, I should probably add that Signs by Design has offered to donate not only safety signs, but
That's Peter
also
Allegrini, right?
it is, but also upgrades to the signs that are there currently. So that's a nice thing.
So Sarah reached out and he agreed to do it. And then we also have the water department that's going to be making some of the connections.
Yes.
To hook up the water lines.
So
Okay.
it's a good
Excellent.
thing.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, John. Anything else related to that
Anything else we need to know, John?
topics?
How'd your
So-
equipment survive the winter?
Excellent. Excellent.
Really? Got
Yeah.
plenty of use.
It got plenty of
Yeah.
use, but it did
Yeah.
survive, yes.
Oh, very good. Good. Okay.
We've got 2 crack mechanics working on it and
Yep.
doing a good
Good
job.
crew.
All right. Well, thank you, John.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, and Mr. Malinowski, you're gonna,
Yep, let me
Ask
go on
the-
to the next one. Mr. Chairman, if I could ask Ellen Smith to come up, and we can talk briefly about technology. I'm going to just pass around this double-sided memo.
hello, Ellen.
How you doing?
And how do I start this one? Ellen has been working hand in hand with Rob Brunel, the consultant that we brought in to redo the police department at money that was approved at town meeting last year, and the chief can speak to that in a moment, as well as upgrading a bunch of the town systems. And Ellen has agreed to work with Rob, as you see in this memo here, to take this opportunity over the next 6 weeks to really upgrade the town system. A couple key points with that is the town right now, not all of our Microsoft Office packages are fully registered. We don't have the ability of sharing calendars mobilely between people that we can update, meeting room type stuff that we'd like to do. We're not in complete compliance with the public records retention law under the open public meeting law, where we need to start to have common email addresses, and this information needs to be archived. We're not the only town behind the 8 ball on this one. I mean, many towns are. It's just that we've been prioritizing what we need to do, and this is the next thing on the list that we need to move forward with. We need to standardize our systems, again, upgrade some of our workstations, and provide for on-site monitoring and 24/7 help desk. In addition to that, Elaine and Lynn and Ellen have Ellen Blanchard have been working on, with Virtual Town Hall on upgrading the website, so that's also a separate project going on. So I'm not really gonna talk about the website, because that's being done separately, but integrated here. So with the letter I've just passed out, I'm gonna turn it over to Ellen, and she can provide a little bit more detail than I just did.
Well, actually, you pretty much covered. It's been recommended for many years now, but we've just lacked the support of the funding to get it done, to make it more seamless. We've been paying next to nothing for IT for many years. If you look at the budget, myself, I did support for many years. And I think people are so supported, the town residents are supported on it, the employees in the town. You're really dependent on it, so when it's not there anymore, you need something a little bit more robust, and also to meet the state requirements. We should be going that direction, and things have gotten a lot cheaper than they used to be too. You don't need as many appliances to do it. So with the cost and the benefits that you get, it's really a no-brainer to move forward with it. And I just happen to be in a situation to give you some extra time at short money. What we have proposed is a third of what would be outsourced per hour. So it's just kind of, I'd like to see just it wrapped up and see everybody on a good note and secure note, especially when it comes to the email, because when you have the records request, it'll make it that much easier for everyone too. And now answer any questions if you had any.
And Ellen's been fabulous doing the
Oh,
work for
yeah.
the town hall. We've had great success. She's always on call whenever she needs to be. She comes in sometimes on the weekends just to help whenever we needed it.
And if it wasn't me, I would recommend you have somebody else do it, even if it's not me. It really should bring it to the 21st century and start digitizing more files, especially now you're going to be more active with the website too. And I can see the town residents going more active. See, some towns are actually doing their requests now. Instead of calling, they're actually doing email, doing a ticket help desk from the website themselves, which would tie in nicely everywhere.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, more to Michael, I think. This is was an unexpected opportunity to get this work done before the end of the year. Where are the funds coming from since it was unanticipated expenses? Worthy, but unanticipated.
Yes, when we go into later in the agenda, I have a request for transferring funds. And in that, our gas account, we're showing a significant surplus in that this year.
Which
So I'm
account?
gonna- the gasoline account. So I'm going to be asking the selectmen to transfer $15,000 into the data processing to allow this work to be done, as well as a couple other transfers. So that's where the money would be coming from, and there is a surplus in that account.
And there's a surplus probably because when we anticipated fiscal 2015, gas prices were a lot higher than they've been for the last year.
It's a combination of gas prices being lower, and also, go back to John again. John's, when he took over as being the director, he was very clear as to providing good oversight to make sure that all the gas was being used properly.
So if by chance someone might have inappropriately been utilizing the gas pumps in the past, that has been stopped now.
John has done a phenomenal job, and I get to look at the bills and the usage and see that the gallons are down.
Okay.
And you now have those key fobs.
And when this is done, it'll even allow for more. And actually, I think that piece is done, the oversight is there. Where that fobs are going to help is actually allow us to manage vehicle usage by fleet. We're going to have some vehicle fleet maintenance that his folks are using, so they'll be able to have a computer program after the cars burn so much gas, then you can correlate that it's been running for so long, so it automatically will come in for a tune-up or oil change or whatever it may be. So it just allows us to have more technology and data to manage our stuff on top of the security piece. More information you probably wanted to know, but
No,
there's a side
very
benefit for that too.
informative.
Very good. Any other questions?
No.
No?
Well, I just wanted to say thank Ellen for all her work, and thank you for stepping forward to help us out this way.
Well, it'll be
This
great.
year.
It'll make everybody more efficient than what they already are.
Yep.
That's
Thank
the
you.
goal.
I just want to comment on that too. Since I've been here, Ellen's been fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
She
Absolutely.
knows what she's doing. She's here to help. She'll drop anything personally to come over, unless there's a wedding. The one time you had a wedding. that you
Yes, it
did
did,
for-
yes, it did.
For a family
Put a
member.
wedding ahead of the town
Yeah, I
meeting?
did.
She
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
She said, and she gave me notice too, that don't call during this time.
I did this Friday, nobody needed me, I was actually doing a birth, I'm like the baby dad, it was cutting
okay.
cord, so, yeah. I was off the clock, off the grid, doesn't happen often, but occasionally, you know.
But again, she's just been phenomenal, and we're so blessed to have her willing to come in here and help us through this, and we appreciate all the work you've done. At our last department head meeting, I mean, the staff couldn't be more appreciative of the work that she's done to help the town.
Thank you.
Great,
Well, I
excellent.
enjoy supporting you guys and doing the best you can.
You're awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
You're welcome very
Alan.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay. And we're back to Town Administrator.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask our police chief to come up. And he's going to be talking about a few things, including the interaction with our resource officer and some of the good work that he's been doing with the schools, even though it's only on a part-time basis, as well as some drug forms that are coming up. And I'll let you go from there, Chief.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having me again. Talk about one of my favorite subjects, except my kids, which is our police department. Mr. Milowski gave me an opportunity to come up and update you a little bit as to what's going on. I know last year we voted to put on 2 new police officers so that we could get a school resource officer and get a detective. And we've been working towards that goal, which we have the officers in the academy now. So we've been using the money to fund some drug investigations, which you can see by our press releases that we've been doing that, and we have several still under
We've been watching.
I appreciate that, and we've been doing what we told you we'd do with that, and doing it well, I believe. But I haven't spoken to you much about the SRO program. We, a few months back, chose an SRO officer to start working with the school on a part-time basis because
That's school resource officer?
Yes, I'm sorry. SRO stands for School Resource Officer. We wanted to get somebody into the school as soon as we could. We can't put them in full-time until next fall when the 2 people in the academy graduate, but it's an important program and we wanted to start building that relationship. So currently, Officer Mello, who was picked as the school resource officer, has been working his day shift and then part-time working with the school to develop the program. And that's been very successful. They've got him an office over there, and they're developing a program for next year's curriculum. And he's had the opportunity to work with some of the kids and handle some of the situations that come up in the school throughout the year. He's done an excellent job at it. And as Mr. Milowski mentioned, one of the cases that just recently came up that I think speaks to the reason why we have him there and how well he's doing there involves a situation that developed at 8 o'clock at night. I got a call from Principal Neef stating that one of his teachers had received an electronic threat from one of the students. I'm not really going to get into the details because we can't here, and there is an ongoing case with that. But it was specific enough that it warranted investigation, and it was, in this day and age, had to be looked at. So I contacted Officer Mello at home, asked him to meet me at the station, and we began an investigation that night. We were able to speak with the student and his parents and get to a point in the investigation that night where we felt comfortable that there was no safety, no threat to the school in the morning, that everybody could go to school and it wouldn't be an issue. That student didn't go to school while we continued our investigation. So the next morning, the investigation began in earnest in working with Mr. Neef and Officer Mello. We interviewed probably a dozen students over a few hours, and were able to come to the conclusion that the student who was originally the suspect had nothing to do with it and was just merely being bullied and picked on because of some past incidents that he'd been involved in. And it led to the conclusion that it was a prank, very poorly chosen prank, that resulted in that student being disciplined both by the school and will face criminal charges. But the important part about this is it was wrapped up within less than 12 hours. We clearly knew within the first 4 hours that there was no real threat to the school, although based on the threat, it was pretty scary. So we, because Officer Mello was able to come in and work on that, because he's already developed a relationship working with Principal Neef and the rest of the people at the school, I think that brought the investigation to a conclusion much quicker than it has in the past. That's one of the benefits of having him there. We're developing those relationships and those contacts so that problems like this can be resolved quickly and that we can make sure that the school is safe for everybody to be there. I think that the relationship that he has with the school administrators and more importantly with the students themselves will enhance the security and safety of everybody that's in that school. And I think this is an example that brings it to the forefront. Although it only turned out to be a prank, it was a serious enough threat that it could have resulted in shut down the school the next day. And because we had him there and because he has that relationship with Mr. Neef and because they worked together to get this resolved, it didn't result in that, and it resulted in a very quick resolve without any real impact on the student who was labeled as the person making the threat when it didn't turn out to be that person. So I think that speaks volumes to why we have a police officer there and why we're building those inroads, because we can handle these situations when they come up much quicker and more professionally, and we get to the bottom of the problem. We didn't, if we looked at it that night, we certainly had enough probable cause based on what we had to move forward and charge that student. And without having the ability to further that investigation and find those details, could have led that student facing criminal charges wrongly. So it speaks to the partnership that's developed between the school and Officer Mello already. He'll be starting full-time in the fall. I look forward to that once we have the two recruits out of the academy. And I think that will only further enhance the safety and continue to build those bridges, not just between the police department and the school administration, but between the police department and the school children. And I think that will reap benefits in the community into the future. So I'm very appreciative that we have had the chance to put this officer in there and try this program, and I think that we're going to find it to be very successful. Along that line also, two of the things that he'll be doing this summer is Officer Mello will be taking students, as he did last summer, to the District Attorney's DARE Camp, which is held at the Whitman-Hanson High School. And that's an important thing to do. We've got a lot of positive feedback about that. We don't have a DARE program, but we expose some of our children to the philosophies and how to avoid using drugs and alcohol and such. So I think that's a good program that he's working on. And he's going to be participating in a program that was begun last year by Officer Rizzuto and YPAC, the Junior Police Explorers program that we ran last year that we had great success with. So Officer Mello will be stepping in and helping out with that this year, again, to further build those bridges and improve the communication between our officers and the young residents of Carver. So I think we're getting positives out of this all around, and I'm very pleased that we're moving forward in this direction, and I look forward to him getting into the schools in the fall. On another note,
can I make a comment?
Sure.
I mean, I've been at the school several times and seen Officer Mello circulating amongst the kids. It appeared to me that it's good that they're already getting used to him being part of them.
I agree completely. I think that we've got a lot of positive feedback, but we've also got some feedback, too, from people saying, well, why there's a police officer in the school? And that it takes a while to get used to that. You see an armed police officer walking through your school, most people assume something bad's going on. So this time period that we're using now, getting them to walk around and meet students, meet teachers, gets everybody the opportunity to meet each other and understand why he's there and get less nervous about why he's there. Because if you see a police car somewhere there or you see a police officer somewhere, a lot of people get nervous and it bothers them. So this does give us that opportunity to do that. And he's taking full advantage of that and getting in the schools whenever he can. So that you're right, it's a good thing. We're getting a lot out of that. I mentioned earlier that we have 2 student officers in the police academy. They're just started their 8th week in the Plymouth Police Academy. From the reports I've received, they're doing very well. We anticipate their graduation in late August, which will put them on the road as Carver police officers then. They've got to go through a 3-month in-house training program then before they're allowed to work alone, but we're moving forward to that direction. And again, I'd like to say that I'm grateful to everyone who helped to secure the funding to fill these 2 positions, because these positions are what's allowing us to increase our staff so that we can be more proactive in a more community-oriented policing and giving us the people to have a detective and have a school resource officer, but giving us the bodies to put out there and try to handle some of the quality of life issues that are out there. We talked earlier out in the hallway about speeding. It's a serious concern. I get complaints from people all the time, and we address it as best we can, but having more bodies will allow us to focus more on some of those issues and deal with the issues, just the quality of life issues. And I mean, we're like I told you before, we're definitely trying to hit the drug front as hard as we can, and we're going to continue to do that, but there are other issues that go on, quality of life, that we need people to be able to work on too, and this will give us those resources. So I'm thankful to the Board of Selectmen and to the town for agreeing that we needed to increase the numbers of police officers and move that forward, because it is allowing us to do that. Then maintaining and improving a dialogue within our community is extremely important, as I've said. We like to go out and do the police work and make the arrests, but I think just as important is to have community meetings and be involved in the community from a different approach, because we can put all the money we want into fighting the drug problem, but if we're not putting any money and effort into trying to deter people from starting the beating or find out why they are starting and see what we can do to help them, we're not really attacking the problem. So to that end, we've sponsored again this year. We're going to be doing another drug education forum like we did last year at the high school. I think I dropped off invitation letters to all the selectmen, and that'll be on May 27th at 7 p.m. This year we've changed the speakers up a little bit. We're going to have 3 different people who have had issues with drug abuse and how they're doing in their recovery. We've also got the sheriff of Plymouth County coming, we've got the district attorney coming, and we've got Judge Wright from Wareham District Court. And that said, we'll have a good panel of people involved in this problem from both sides, and I hope that that will, as it did last year, spur a more community discussion as to what is going on, what's being done on our end, what can be done, and what suggestions are out there, because this is a community issue and it needs to be discussed amongst the community. So I'm hoping that many people will attend that.
So can you repeat that? It's on May 27th.
Yes.
At what time?
May 27th at 7 p.m.
At the?
Carver High School Middle School Auditorium.
Yep.
And then, sorry.
Chief, while we have the reporter here, I just wanted to make sure that the message was clear, is that what appeared to be a security issue, there was no security issue, turned out to be a forgery of electronic documents, and at no time was anyone in harm's way at the school system.
That's correct, yes. I should have made that clearly, yes, that it was a threat, but it was a forged document threat, and it didn't pose in. And again, that's what we were able to establish fairly rapidly into this.
And they have to take the threat serious, but it turns out there was no harm.
Right.
It was meant to cause harm as part of the threat. It was clearly...
No harm in general. Harm to that other student who was being framed for it, yes, but no harm to anybody in the student.
So that original student was being bullied?
Yes. Unfortunately. But again, I think the school does a good job of that, and I think that by having an officer in the school to help out with that, it gives people, students, parents, a different venue to take their complaint about that too. I think the school's done an excellent job with it, but it also if you've got a police officer you can talk to about that, sometimes people are more comfortable discussing that issue with them and moving away from talking to a teacher about it. As long as we find somebody who the student's comfortable in talking with to discuss the problem, then we can deal with it. And I think having a police officer that gives us that extra person.
And the parents of the original child are very happy as to how Officer Mello helped.
Yes, everybody was, the parents and the child were very cooperative, and we told them that we were going to further investigate this and we were going to get to the bottom of it. I'm not sure if they really believed us that night or not, but ultimately they found out that Officer Mello was a man of his word, and we did find out who did it, and we were able to clear their son. So it was an excellent job by Officer Mello.
Thank you.
Very good.
If you don't mind, just a couple more things while I'm up here. June 24th, we're going to do another forum at the school. And this one is we're bringing in a doctor by the name of Dr. Hill who speaks about the physiological effects of marijuana on the system. We did a raid a couple of weeks back or a month back with the DEA of a home in Carver where they were using the house to grow marijuana in large quantities. And based on a lot of the comments you see to the press releases on Facebook, there are still a lot of people out there that the Commonwealth's changed the laws. We've decriminalized marijuana. We're making medical marijuana available, and that's what we're doing with the laws. But the reality is marijuana still does cause problems. So we're going to have a forum to discuss that too and talk about some of the issues and some of the problems that marijuana causes to the system when you breathe it in.
Where?
We're going to do the same thing at the school at 7 o'clock at the Carver High School Auditorium. And we'd like to have a discussion on that because there are some people out there that will say that it's legal, and we want to be able to explain to them, no, it's still not legal. It's decriminalized. There's a fine for it, but it's illegal to grow it. It's illegal to sell it, and some of the reasons why. But mostly some of the reasons why is to what it actually does inside the body, because there's a lot of belief that it doesn't cause any harm. And I think anything you ingest into your body causes harm, whether it's soda or caffeine or cigarette smoke. But this does cause harm, and we'd like to talk about it because, again, it deserves a community discussion. So we're going to have that forum.
Can I just comment on that? last week, the chief had set up with the district attorney, they did a Plymouth County drug forum in Brockton.
Yeah.
And one of the things that came out of that, and just picking up what the chief said, is that they showed pictures of autopsies of brains that had been involved in a lot of marijuana and those that hadn't. And what they're finding out, and they've known this for a while, is that a lot of the brain doesn't fully function for the executive function of our beings and our brain until we're somewhere between 19 and 21. So for kids that may have gotten involved in any drug, marijuana or anything, the development of the brain is clearly curtailed because it was not allowed to fully develop, which I think is what the chief's saying. And it's a very interesting, impact, significant impact that it has on the growth of an individual's brain function.
Yes, I agree with you completely, Mr. Malinowski. So that's the reason why we want to have that, is just to have that discussion and get that information out there so people can hear it. And then again, along the lines of community engagement, as we did last year for the first year in 10 years, we had Carver's National Night Out. Same thing is celebrated around the country. On August 4th, we'll be doing that again. It's a forum for Carver residents to come out, have some hamburgers and hot dogs, and get to meet their public safety people. And I think that's very important to community engagement and getting the people to understand who they're paying to do this job, and that they're human beings, and get a better understanding all around. Just like we're trying to build those bridges with the kids in school, let's build the same bridges with the residents of the town. So we'll be doing that again on August 4th. I don't have the time yet. It usually starts around 5, but I'm not positive on that right now. So that other than that, you did just hear Ellen about the computer upgrade, and I can confirm that we are nearly completed in our computer upgrade. I greatly appreciate those resources. We've been lacking that for a long time. I've been here for 12 years, and we replaced some computers that still had 3.5-inch floppy drives in them, which we were able to donate to the Smithsonian. They're going to put them in a nice museum somewhere. But we are up and running. We have all new desktop computers, a new server, and most importantly, our security has been greatly enhanced. Don't ask me the technical details, but I know that we're now up to spec with what the FBI and the state require for our security measures regarding CGIS and DCGIS, which is how we run plates or check warrants, which is important. And we are currently backing up our data both on-site and off-site, so that in the event of a disaster, if the building collapsed or the building burned down, we would not lose access to that. We would seamlessly be able to continue to function as a police department. We would not lose all our records and not be able to prosecute cases or identify sex offenders or make sure people got their license to carry. That would continue on, and that's a huge plus, because we've been backing up internally for a lot of years, and all we would need was one good fire, and then I don't know where we would go. So that's come along a great way. Again, I can't speak to the technical expertise of it, but it's working. Ellen's been a big help. Rob's been a big help. Dispatcher Mike Shaw has also been a big help in-house, and I appreciate all the work they've done, because we're finally getting into the 21st century, as Ellen was saying. There's a grant out there, and we've been fortunate to be part of it, that we're going to be getting what's called a live scan fingerprint system, which means when we arrest and bring a prisoner in, there's no more inked fingerprints. It's all done computer-wise. It allows us to take fingerprints and palm prints, so that that allows for better identification in the future, and it allows us to fingerprint somebody and electronically send their fingerprints down to Washington if they refuse to tell us who they are, and be able to identify them much quicker. So all this computer upgrade and this new system help to bring us and keep us moving in the right direction as far as technology goes, and I appreciate that too. So I've spoken enough now. I don't want to waste all night, but thank you for your time.
Well, it's good that you're giving us a technological update, because, since I've been around, technology so some of these things I'm happy to hear.
Yes, we're definitely moving forward,
Right.
and I appreciate that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
No, but thank you. That's a comprehensive update. It's good to know what's going on there.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Does that mean on August 4th, I got to wear my bathing suit, Mark?
Yes, it does.
Oh,
I'm not doing
geez.
that this year. I did it last year. Thank you.
Good night.
No, thank you.
Okay. 2015 financial update?
Yes, Let me start by saying the auditors are here. So they're here camping out for a week. They generally do this for 1 week before the close of the fiscal year. And they go around and they do tests through different departments, whether it's on the town side or the school side. So they're here doing that work. We are also in the process of working towards closing out our FY15 funds. And with that, we're trying to move in an expeditious way so we can have our audit done sooner rather than later, because we are going to have to go off with some significant borrowing in the late fall of this year. So that is going on right now. As it relates to some of the finances, we are going to have a couple departments that are going to be running a little bit over this year. One of them is going to be veterans benefits. We are actually able to service more veterans, and we do get a portion of that return from the state the following year. But Ken is doing a fabulous job and is able to satisfy some of the needs of the veterans. So that is going to be running a slight deficit, and we'll be meeting with the Finance Committee to fund that out of their reserve allotment sometime next month. Also, the inspection salaries for electrical and plumbing inspector, we're actually paying out more than we had budgeted this year, and part of that is it's directly tied into the number of permits that are issued. There is a significant amount of whether it's renovations or new construction or rehab construction going on in the town where people are upgrading their houses. So that's a sign of the economy slightly improving. So we're going to have to also have some money transferred into those, and we'll be doing that at our June meeting. We do have three items that Meg has identified that we know right now have run a deficit, and we can pretty much anticipate what they are. The first is the treasurer collector's salary line item. As you're aware, the assistant treasurer collector did retire in the fall, and as a result of that, we had to compensate her for her vacation time and also for some of her other benefits that she had accumulated. And in the transition, we've had to bring in some additional office help to help through that transition, so there's been additional support hours trying to move forward into our new system. So I'm going to be requesting $10,500 to be transferred from our gas account into the treasurer collector's line item. The second has to do with the conservation salaries. Going to be looking to transfer $3,400 also from the gas account. When we hired Brooke, it was after the fiscal year started, and we were able to get her in and program her at 19 hours, and this will allow us to be able to fully fund that for the rest of the fiscal year based upon the number of hours there. And again, when we put the budget together, we didn't have somebody there. We were doing it as a consulting hours versus we've been able to bring her in part-time and serve in that capacity. So that's $3,400. And then finally, as was mentioned during the technology update, is to transfer $15,000 from the townwide gas account to allow us to implement the technology upgrades over the next 6 weeks that we're looking to do here in Town Hall. You're able to make those transfers because when we voted the budget, we did it by different, this is under the general government category, and the selectmen have the authority to transfer money from one department to another department, and that's why I'm bringing it to your attention, requesting that you transfer those three sums
Tonight.
tonight.
Can we do it all as one lump?
You can do it all as one lump, and again, we will be coming back in June for some final transfers, and maybe also at our first meeting in July, should that need to happen.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion right now?
Correct, in the amount of $10,500 to the treasurer collector salary line item, in the amount of $3,400 to the conservation salary line item, and $15,000 to data processing, and the source of all those funds is the townwide gas account,
I'll
which
make that
has a
motion.
significant surplus.
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Okay. Let's vote. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 4-0.
Okay.
It's 4-0 in favor, Elaine.
Thank you. The next item that I have is the fire station building update. As you've seen across the street, we have a site that's 98% ready for development. John Deli came down this weekend with his equipment, and he's part of the fire station building committee, and he demolished the buildings. We're going to have trailers coming in either tomorrow or the next day so they can be loaded out to take the stuff out. As well as you've seen the Westons and other people out there working on the site with their own equipment. This is saving the town hundreds of thousands of dollars, and again, this is the committee members doing this work. We've actually gotten some reduced rates for transporting the material off-site, and all of the concrete is going to be crushed and taken away at no cost to the town as well. So there's been a lot of activity. The last thing that you're going to see later this week is we still need to have the big pile of loom in the back screened, and then to make sure we maintain enough of that for the site. But the real purpose behind the committee doing that is because our owner's project manager was very clear that one of the big cost variables that contractors put into a project is site work, because you sometimes start digging and who knows what you're going to find. Whereas if we could have the site pad ready like we have it right now and all surveyed, it will reduce any risk into the contractor, so they'll be able to give us a better price on doing the site work, which should be minimal right now. So that has been going on. The 90% design plans have been completed. I think the chief had 15 pages of comments on those with him and his team, but that's actually good because they get down into the number of drawers and where the different cabinet doors are going to go, and making sure that all of the electrical and plumbing fixtures are properly done. So that's off at the architect for their review. We have the cost estimates that are going out. The two companies, the OPM and the designer, each have their cost estimated. They've completed theirs. Now they have to meet together to see what the differences are, and we'll be having a meeting next week to discuss how close we are to the budget, and I'm told through a little birdie that we're pretty close. So that's a good thing. We're anticipating on going out to that project to bid in early June, on June 1st. So far, everything's looking pretty good from that, and everyone's been working really hard, either volunteering time, money, and equipment, or on the administrative side, going through the designs and getting all that done. So very pleased how that's coming along.
That's pretty neat that John Del Piscoli would donate his time and his machinery for this project.
And the same thing with
Yeah.
Gary Weston
And Gary with
Craig
the Westons.
and
Yeah.
their stuff. I mean, they've had employees down there of their own helping with the thing.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I was impressed with the fire chief
That's
up on his
amazing.
own front-end loader
Yeah.
doing work.
And the chief even had me over there with one of his front-end loaders teaching me how to use it. I wasn't as good as he was.
Are there any pictures?
Shovel? No, it was a steam shovel. And then he had me run into a car and smash it that they used for a training session later on. But it was interesting. So, but again, all of them have saved the town a lot of money, and they should be commended for that.
That is a good committee, and they are hardworking and working together. They're doing a good job.
Any questions on the fire station? Okay. Next item is our house notes and bonding discussion. At our next meeting, we are going to have on the agenda authorization for the board to authorize us to go out and do some house notes in the amount of $2 million. What that consists of is about $350,000 of that initial note is going to pay back the town stabilization fund. Earlier this year, the board authorized that we could borrow from the stabilization fund to pay for the design fees, the architect in doing the work for the fire station. So now that we've accumulated a mass of money, we have to close that out by the end of the fiscal year. So this is the mechanism that we do that, is by issuing a house note. That'll be in about $350,000. Second is moving forward with the 3 fire engines. We've got, the chief has done a fabulous job in negotiating some significant cost savings on this project. And by doing a prepayment, we're gonna save $77,000. So we're gonna be looking at putting in $1.65 million, which will pay for the 3 engines. Now, that is inclusive of the trade-in value too, so that's the net cost of the 3 engines. And then on top of that, we will still need to do some additional fit-out and the rehab of the new engine number 4, but that'll be done after the fiscal year. So, again, just as a heads up, at the next meeting, I'll have all the legal documentation for you to do to vote on that and to move that forward. Any questions on that? Moving forward to capital project updates. I met on Monday, yesterday, with Jack Angley, and we're going to be putting together the process for how all capital projects are done in the town, no matter what department you are. There's statutory requirements and state law that has to be done through this office. So we're gonna put that all together, lay that out, as well as what town meeting did as far as the project management of that. And then we're gonna have a kickoff meeting probably next week or the following week with any department that has been allocated money for capital outlay. And we can go over the process with everybody and walk everybody through it. What we're really trying to do is professionalize all of the procurement in the town and to make sure that we meet all the specifications of the law. So we're going to be doing that shortly. I want to talk about, I've already talked about the playground update, but I do want to talk about the purchase of the fire engines. And with that, what the chief was able to do is we have joined this purchasing group called HGAC Buy out of Houston, Texas. And you may think that that's odd, but it's actually a national-based procurement system that locks in the prices of these engines and other equipment for 2 years. So we're actually paying FY 14 prices because it was locked in on an FY 15 vehicles. And with that, again, there's an early payment program that we've done with Pierce on this, and overall, you know, it just allows us to save, you know, 5 or 6% on top of something that we normally wouldn't have been able to do, even with procuring it out by going through the system. As part of the contract, we're going to have the engines built in sequence, so it'll be, you know, they'll be off, you know, it'll be 3 series running down the production line. That's saving money on the engineering of the engines because you actually have to design each engine individually, so it'll be the same design for each one. And that's why, you know, what's important to our wonderful call fire department is that each department has the same piece of equipment. So if you need to come to another station, you can use that equipment because you're trained on it and you're used to it. So again, we've already talked about all those benefits. So the contract is here to sign, and what I was going to ask the board to do, and this is a little bit outside of the norm, is to authorize the chief of police, I'm sorry, the fire chief, to sign the contract for the engines. And you can delegate him as the signator of the town for that. So I'd like to request that you authorize the fire chief to sign the contract for the Pierce engines.
And do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Second, okay. This is kind of an honorary assignment that we're doing so that, right? Yep.
Yes, you can say that. I just say he's done a tremendous amount of work for this
right.
and with the fire station.
And he should be, yep, okay.
The books that he has on this, that he's
Oh, no,
worked me through.
We know the extremes
I would be
that he's
ashamed to
gone
sign
to.
it. That's why I want him to sign
Yeah,
it, because of all the work he's done to it.
Right, okay. Any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
It's a 4-0 unanimous. Elaine? In favor?
Thank you. The next item, and I do have some more, and they're not in print here, but I'll go over those, is we have been approached about possibly doing a small development off of the South Meadow Road property. And with that, this is all preliminary at this point, but I need to get authority from the Carver Board of Selectmen to request that the Plymouth Board of Selectmen consider granting us an intermunicipal water agreement that would allow potentially for water to be hooked up to this one site. I'm asking you for the authority to begin the discussions on that. Obviously, Plymouth has to be willing to do this. They're interested in discussing it. And then once we can come back with the details, then I can present it to the board and you can determine whether or not you want to go forward with this. But what we're looking at here is something that could benefit the town. So I do need approval from the board to request an intermunicipal water agreement with Plymouth.
So moved.
Second.
May I?
Discussion? Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear for the public that this intermunicipal water agreement request is for this a particular site and no other site.
Correct.
Okay. And that if it were to be requested that we extend it to other sites, that we would have to reconsider that as water commissioners.
Yes. And you're not making a final decision right now, you're just authorizing me to begin discussions at your request.
Okay. Any further questions? All right. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
It's 4-0 in favor. Pardon?
Yeah.
We made the motion.
Yes.
And then I second.
Sarah made the motion, I seconded.
No,
No,
no.
you did.
No?
Helen did.
Helen made the motion, I second.
Rewind the tape, yes. Mhm.
I thought Ron made the motion, I second.
She's in control.
Yeah, whatever she said.
Whatever she says goes, so we did a new motion.
Was anyone paying attention? I did.
Well, that's typical.
That could be a problem.
All right, someone make a
Are
motion.
we clear here or
No,
no?
we
Okay.
need another motion.
Let's
I'll
make a
the
motion.
Second?
All right. Helen made the motion. Mr. Clark, second the motion. Any further discussion?
And Ms. Hewens clarified the motion.
Okay. And
Mr.
board call for the vote.
doesn't know what's happening.
He's tired. No, okay. So, no further discussion. All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
It is a 4-0 in favor. Thank you.
Two more updates. One has to do with the Route 44 solar expansion. I will tell you that staff, including myself, combined has spent about 20 hours going up multiple times and looking at the site, and including the Conservation Commission, the agent, the planning director, building inspector. We've had multiple people go up there because their complaints were made. And the long story short is that the Conservation Commission is perfectly supportive of the project. They see no issues with the project. They've actually asked for some additional brush to be cut down. There were concerns about old stumps. Those stumps occurred back when the Route 44 was expanded. The chairman of the Conservation Commission has issued a letter stating that. So again, there's been a lot of public comment about the developers not treating the site appropriately. According to all of our inspection departments, according to the Concom, everything has been done appropriately. So, but again, I just need to bring it to your attention. We wasted a lot of staff time doing that, probably a lot more than we should have.
Thank you.
And then my last item is, last week, Sarah and I attended a regional meeting with Lieutenant Governor and our state representative. And included for the towns that were there, were Bourne, Carver, obviously, Lakeville, Marion, Middleborough, Rochester, and Wareham, with the Lieutenant Governor. And I don't know, Sarah, if you want to comment some more on that?
I could. I was going to save it for my comment period, but I can do it now. Just real quickly, the question that we asked, that I asked, and Michael helped to clarify, sort of elaborate on it, was this was sort of a free-forming session with the governor. Ask the governor a question for him, and so the question I asked, which I had asked quite some time ago, back in the winter, I think, of the commission that's been set up to study the Chapter 70 formula, which we all know is not working for towns like Carver, and that's the money that the state gives cities and towns. It's supposed to be given to help towns in our kind of situation. They're not wealthy, and it used to work, and it doesn't anymore. And so my question was, the Mass School Building Authority has a formula whereby they compare towns like Carver to what I said redundantly was comparable towns. That is, towns that have similar incomes to what we do, have similar, all kinds of statistical similarities. And that formula seems to work because they're telling us that they will reimburse us at roughly 60%. So we only pay 40 for a school project. When it comes to the Chapter 70 formula, we don't get 60-40, and neither do we get 60-40 when it comes to general aid to local cities and towns. So we sort of asked her if we could have, this was Karen Polito, if her administration as well as the legislature could please just take a look at this. One formula works and the other one doesn't. There's something wrong here. And then, Michael, if you wanted to elaborate on that, you can.
No, that's exactly it. Is the MSBA has a very quantitative formula that's absent of politics, and it benefits, as is supposed to be, those communities that can least afford some of these improvements, whereas the Chapter 70 formula as currently written does not fully benefit the communities that are in the most need. And it needs to be looked at. Everybody knows it needs to be looked at. The commission that's looking at this right now does not get into the formula piece, but it's an additional action that is going to have to be looked at in the future. So that was a great discussion in part of Carver's comments. Just a couple other things that came out from some of the other towns. Obviously, the snow and ice issue that's impacting all communities, to see if there's any additional state aid that will be coming out. It didn't seem to be a likelihood that that was going to be happening, except that they're trying to get more federal money. There was also talk about, particularly with our smaller towns down here, looking at some more regionalization opportunities. And they have put in about $2.6 million into this compact to allow for grants for multiple communities to take a look at. Discussed was also OPED and trying to be fairer in how people receive benefits, so that if you work 10 years part-time, you should not receive the same benefits as someone who's worked 30 years at full-time. And figuring out how to do a more prorated share on that. You know, the example is 10-year part-time. How does that equal 30 years at full-time? Why are they considered equal? And that obviously has a big impact on communities. There was also some discussion on more transparency and this is from other towns, in school budgeting and how the budget process works, and trying to expand between one line item so that questions can be asked. So again, these are all different selectmen. I know many people had work schedules they couldn't make, but whether it's town administrators or managers or selectmen at the meeting, there were some good discussions. And all of these topics, have some benefit to Carver.
Was she receptive?
She was very receptive of that, wouldn't you say, Sarah?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
She was taking the information back. She had her staff there, and they were very appreciative. And we provided some clarity on some of the things that particularly in the fairness of the healthcare benefits, many of the statewide unions are supportive of changing that as well. So they were appreciative to hear that also.
That's good news.
Okay.
Mr. clock, I'm ahead of schedule.
Yay.
Buy my own clock.
It's a scam.
All right, okay, onward, we're at Board of Selectmen comment period.
For the record, we're also 21 minutes early.
Awesome.
Okay, well, we don't have a clock, we can't.
I know,
the
the first time we're ahead of schedule, there's no clock, imagine that.
You would think we'd have a town administrator that could procure a clock, but
All right. Why don't we start off to my left tonight on Board of Selectmen comment period. Helen, would you like to
Alrighty.
start tonight?
Well, first, I just want to thank you. This is our first session back with the new board, the new old board, and I just want to thank everybody who continues to have faith in me and voted me in, because I really look forward to serving you for an additional 3 years. With that being said, I just want to mention a few upcoming events for the town. The Mobilizing the Community, which is our forum that we all got together during the rise in the heroin epidemics, is moving on strong, and we're having our next meeting tomorrow evening at the Carver Library at 6:30 p.m. And then this coming Saturday is the 13th annual Carver Sportsman's Club Scholarship Breakfast. So bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, if you can come out between 7:30 and 11 a.m. The food is delicious. It's $6. The tickets are $6 each at the door, and the proceeds goes to a graduating high school senior, and an additional 2 tickets go to campers to attend a junior conservation camp. So please come out and support the Sportsman Club. It's been a great tradition over the past 13 years. So it's, again, it's this coming Saturday, May 23rd, from 7:30 to 11 a.m. at the Carver Sportsman's Club, which is across the street from Carver Square.
Very good.
just actually a point of clarification, because we had Chief Dufley in tonight talking about a drug forum that the police union and the school department is sponsoring on the 27th. That's distinct from what's happening tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is just our regular meeting.
Okay.
Mobilizing the community meeting. If
Okay.
I said forum, I apologize. It's a
Okay.
mobilizing the community meeting. As a matter of fact, on the agenda is helping to coordinate that forum.
Okay.
So,
And there's always opportunity for new folks to come. Anybody that would like to come to help, come, please.
oh, it's the whole point, is to bring the community together. And it's been very well received with the ones that have been attending. It's been great.
Mr. Clark?
I was asked by Ron Delano to remind everyone that we have the parade, Memorial Day Parade coming up this coming Monday, and that we're to gather at the Sons of Union Veterans Hall at 9 o'clock, and the parade step off at 9, and hopefully you'll all be joining us for the parade. And
Alan's better.
also, pardon me?
I hope Alan's better.
And a reminder to the chair that he will be making a short speech when we gather at the gazebo. Mr. Delano asked me to remind you of that.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Yep.
Also, I had asked Elaine this earlier, we've kicked this around, and I really would like to get it on the agenda, that we've done an evaluation of the town administrator, now we need to give him some goals for the fiscal 2016. So I'd like to suggest that perhaps we can forward some goals to Elaine over the coming month, and she can, after maybe a week ahead of time, get the ideas out that are showing up, so that when we get together, we can actually maybe make some decisions as to what they should be. I've thrown it out before. I think I don't think it should be 6 or 7. I think it should be 2, 3, 4, something that are workable. And I think looking for new sources of revenue and exploring where it makes sense for us to regionalize services are two big things that I would suggest. And so I'd invite everybody to try to get some ideas out there, and then we can, at the June 16th meeting, come up with the goals that we are going to ask our town administrator to pursue, in conjunction with us, obviously, over the course of the next year. It's funny, we were talking about the meeting with the Lieutenant Governor, and I see in this month's issue of the Beacon, which is the Mass Municipal Association publication, that the Foundation Budget Review Commission is slated to meet, has already met this month and will meet again in early June to discuss and vote on proposed changes to the Chapter 70 school finance law. So now is the time to make sure perhaps we as a board should reach out to our representatives and make sure that our voice is heard. Some of the things they're considering include trying to provide additional funds for employee benefits and special education costs, which in many, many school systems are severely understated and funded. So that I think, so we may know by the end of June exactly what, if any, reform we may see. So I think that's important to weigh in on. And then finally, you may have heard, but Chat TV may no longer be Chat TV because over last week, the towns of Halifax officially voted by the town meeting to join. Plimpton also finally got around to joining. So now it's going to be Carver, Halifax, and Plimpton in a regional cable studio located just up there right next to Cornerstones in the plaza there. And so at our meeting tomorrow, we will be selecting a name. Chat is still in the running, but there are other names that have been suggested, so that we will be, but at our next meeting, I will be able to tell you what the name of your regional access television.
Are there any top contenders?
That would be, oh, never mind.
Well, yes. The one that seems to be gathering a little steam is Area 58.
Area, oh, I get it.
Well, it's sort of a
Route 58 area.
Well, there was Area 51, which many of you may remember is where supposedly the little green men were found back in the 50s, and the Air Force hid it from the whole government, so.
You just love recreating history.
I'm just saying Area 58 is in the running. So that is something, but we want to get it on, we want to get a sign out there, we want to get our shingle out there, and all three towns are really excited about moving forward. We want to get our public education program going because part of the big drive with Access Television is that any member of one of the towns can come in and learn from A to Z how to operate the cameras, produce a program. Helen could have her own program on.
Wait a minute, I'm still thinking of the little men and us
Yes.
being quarantined in Carver with this Area 58.
No.
How can we take CCAT chat or whatever, this Area 58 seriously?
Area 58 Access Television.
But now that we know the reason why, I mean, are you kidding me?
It's a little play on words. So, at any rate, no decision has been made as of yet, but we will be having that vote tomorrow. That finishes my public comments for the evening.
Area 58.
Thank you, yeah. Area 58, a sign like that wouldn't frighten people coming into town.
Well, I would hope not.
Oh, no. Just kidding.
Because they're never
just
going to
kidding.
get out. They're going to be quarantined.
Why are they going to be quarantined?
Because
Okay.
isn't it like the thing that the government hid from everybody?
Well, they
and
hid the little green Martians that they
Yeah,
found. Yeah, but there was
exactly.
no,
And then if
there's
you-
no contamination.
if you came near
Sarah,
that
would
area,
you like to continue on Selectmen's comment period?
I guess so. Thank you.
beat that, Sarah.
So, yeah, that's going to be hard. So I, too, would like to thank the voters who came out and voted at the election. I appreciate your support. I also would like to point out, as Chief Dufely did, that the Young People's Alliance of Carver, which is shortened to YPAC, did have last year a very successful program with the police department, the Junior Police Explorers that the police department sponsored. The kids really liked it. It ran from the end of July through mid-September, once a week, and actually drew quite a few kids. One of the things YPAC tries to do is to be proactive, to help build young folks' self-esteem, show them new skills, teach them how to interact with one another. We encourage them to understand that bullying is not a good behavior. And so we really appreciate the cooperation of the police department in that effort. And I just wanted to reiterate how much the DPW and Buildings and Grounds not only are doing now, but have done over the years. When the playground was first built in 2000, one of the things our committee kind of forgot to do, and the Board of Selectmen, of which Ron was a member at the time, forgot to do as well, was to think about maintenance. We all make mistakes, but that was something that was kind of not thought of at the time. We'd never done a playground before. And so Jerry Farquharson and his team took over and have really been, considering it's been 15 years, it's in pretty darn good shape. So they've done an excellent job with that. John Woods has taken this whole playground upgrade and repair project by the horns. Michael was on board with. Everyone's been working really hard on this. We had an awful winter. We're all really glad it's going to get done. But I do want to give those two guys and their crews too a lot of credit, both in the past and going forward on this. It's a very well used playground. And I also wanted to remind people to come to the parade. It's an important day.
Very good. Yes, that's very important. Memorial Day is Monday, and we would love to have as many citizens as possible cheering us on as we march, along with the school band and the firemen and everybody that's going to march. And yes, I will do a short, brief speech. Tomorrow night, though, is a very important meeting with that municipal drug committee. And so as many folks as we can get come. They're setting up programs that are educational, that will periodically work with the kids and adults and everybody within our town. Very important. The other programs, like the one on the 24th, that's in conjunction kind of with it.
27th.
27th? Yeah, okay. I was thinking of the June 24th one. But the May 27th one, and then the the June 24th program. Those are all very important. This is a very, very important goal and concern of our town. So, I guess I've concluded my comments. Anybody else have anything under Selectmen's comments? All right, and part of my comments will be on the school building committee and our work with the Mass School Building Authority. And maybe Michael can do the well water update. I'll just say that we had a meeting last night by the building committee, and we reviewed the meeting that a delegation from our building committee went to in Boston with a committee that's a subcommittee of the MSBA. And we reviewed all the things that we're doing and how we determined the site and so on. And the project manager and the architects went over basic kind of block plans that we have set up. And the committee asked many questions. And it seems that at the end of the morning, the project manager at MSBA, we have two project managers. MSBA has a project manager for our project, and then we have our own project managers that work with our architects and everybody and coordinate for the building committee. So that went well. So we're proceeding on that. As part of that, we've set up a visitation to the Krista McAuliffe Elementary School in New Hampshire, because that is a very recent project of our architects, HMFH. And there's some very interesting new innovations that they did up there in terms of the media center and other things that we are going to look at. So we are going at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, and I was told to bring my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and eat on the bus. And we'll tour the school and talk to people and kids. School's in session up there. Yeah. Michael, are you going?
I can't go.
Okay.
But the video that they've done is quite extraordinary. That really ties into how kids interact, you know, for the 21st century. So I think what the designers have put forward is a really good plan.
And we encourage the community to look at that 12, 15-minute video, because it does a good job of describing how the architects are going about this process. And everybody should see it.
And where's that video
It's
available?
going to be on CCA TV. I'm sorry, Area 58.
With it, no decision's been made at this time.
Okay. But it's also going to be on some of our outreach work, showing it on some of the modern Facebook stuff or whatever, however that works. That's not my bag. But we'll have it out there everywhere we can, so everybody can see that. That's what happens, and we'll be getting home probably 5 o'clock Thursday. So right now, our next meeting, the building committee's next meeting is the third Monday in June, and we'll have a better idea of what this subcommittee, how they responded to our meeting last Wednesday, and what they're going forward with the MSBA on. So that's where we're at. Now, the water, the well, that was the one problem with the site that we chose, but that's the least expensive, it seems, change we have to make to put that building on that exact spot.
Yes, the well testing, the site has been cleared. The rig started going out the other day. They have to come back this week for some additional testing. But we have already met with DEP twice, and we're implementing the protocols that they're recommending. So this should not be a difficult well to tap into, given the water quality. What I did do is I've executed all the contracts with JC Engineering, and both Robert Tinkham and Dave Siegentoff are heading this project up. So again, that's all going well. While we're talking about the school, right now, our schedule, assuming all votes go as planned, and the town does support this project, we're looking at a target occupancy date of August 27th, 2018. And the reason why I bring that up is we're going to know this November, November 18th, what MSBA is willing to pay for as part of the project when they approve what's called the project scope budget agreement. At that time, we are going to need a special town meeting to authorize us going forward to actually a ballot vote for a debt exclusion. What's important here that we discussed at the school building committee is to try to move that process along as quickly as possible. If we delay a town meeting vote till sometime in 2016, that may push us from missing that opening date of August, which then means you don't want to open in the middle of the fall, so to speak, or in late fall. You want to try to open in the summer so you can move right into the school system. So we're going to be working on some schedules and bringing that back to the board to recommend to the school building committee as to when you would be comfortable in calling for that special town meeting, and then also trying to pre-plan when that ballot question would take place. So we may have some dates for you to look at our next meeting in June. Again, trying to plan for this. Why it's important to do is whenever we figure out whether it's Area 58 or chat, something, is that we want to make sure that we put together a process to disseminate all of the information to as many people as possible so everyone has the facts with this project in full transparency. So the sooner we can pick that date, then we can start to plan how we release all that information as it's released by MSBA. We anticipate having actual cost on the project in early September. So in September is when we'll know what the project's going to be, but it'll take another 6 to 8 weeks for MSBA to approve that. But as a committee, that's when we have to submit it, is mid-September.
And we're on an expedited schedule.
Correct.
And if we don't follow that, one of our members pointed out that total costs, if you prolong it, it's close to $10,000 a day.
Just an interest cost.
So we are very concerned with meeting that expedited schedule. So
We'll
good.
have dates at the next meeting, proposed dates.
Proposed dates for your consideration.
Okay. Any other questions on the school, MSBA or such? Okay. Solar tax agreements.
If we could table the next two items, Mr. Chairman, for our next meeting, I'm not ready to go over those at this meeting.
Okay. All right. Yep. Okay, we have a request by Mr. Shea, Cornelius Shea, to be appointed to our Historical District Commission. Is Mr. Shea here?
I did not ask him to come. I didn't know
Okay.
how
No,
late we were
that's,
going to be.
no, I was wondering if he was. I didn't want to overlook that. Okay, what's your thoughts, folks?
Make a motion to appoint Cornelius Shea to the Historic District Commission.
Yeah, I think we should let this member of the Historic Commission, Savory Moore, speak,
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Come right up, Mr. Moore.
Can
Yep.
someone second that, then we can have the discussion period during this, or?
Well, I'm not, I think we should appoint someone when they show up, personally. That's how I feel, that's the way we've been doing it. The person
No,
wants to.
we've made some appointments this year without people showing up.
All right, well, someone else can make the second.
Well, at any rate, in this particular case, Elaine didn't ask him to show up.
Okay.
I made the call
Yeah.
based on that.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So you wanna
somebody
make a
from the
motion?
Historic Commission wants to speak, come right up. It's related to that.
Yes, hi, my name is Savory Moore. I'm a member of the Historic District Commission.
Yep, we know.
You know, okay. I spoke with our chairperson this evening, Peg Blackwell, and the bylaws of the town of Carver stipulate that there are 5 members of the Historic District Commission and 3 alternates. And it is our belief that right now the 5 members are, the 5 spots for members are filled, and that this would be for an alternate.
Who are the 5 present members?
It would be Peg Blackwell as chairperson, Jason Pecorelli, David Wainio, Jim Phillip, and myself, with Ellen Blanchard as one of the 3 alternates, leaving 2 alternate positions open.
So this gentleman would be applying for an alternate position?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I just wanted to make clear, and also that the bylaws state that the alternate has full power and voting rights only when a full member is absent and the chairperson recognizes that.
Okay, do you have any thoughts on that, folks?
Elaine, do you know, do our records match what we've been told?
I don't want to speak for him where he's not here, and I did say he did not have to come based on previous appointments that were made. I know he is interested in Lakenham Green also, but because of what happened at town meeting, he just put down Historic District Commission.
Okay. Well, right now, as far as the Historic District Commission, the Historical Commission, the Lakenham Green Commission, Lakenham Green Preservation Committee, and the Marcus Atwood trustees, they're all based on a meeting that we had in January with the Governance Committee, and which was voted on at town meeting. They're going to be combined into one group. So basically, members of those 4 groups have basically stayed exactly as they were until the proposal that was approved at town meeting goes in front of the Attorney General and is then approved by the Attorney General, at which point we're going to have to meet with the Governance Committee again and possibly increase the number of members on the overall district so that we can accomplish with subcommittees the different things that the current 4 committees are doing.
Sari, could you clarify something? I'm looking at last year's town report, and it showed that there were 8 members on the Historic District Commission and 1 alternate.
Well, I can't clarify that. I'm going by what the bylaws say. The bylaws said that when it was first formed, that there was a member voted or who was selected for a 1-year term. Then there were 2 for a 2-year term and 2 for a 3-year term. And then that would keep the rotation going. And then there was 1 alternate for a 1-year term, 1 alternate for a 2-year term, and 1 alternate for a 3-year term, for a total of 8. That's what the bylaws state, according to what I looked at.
Yeah, no, I'm just seeing here that we
Yeah.
have 8 members.
Oh, I'm not
so-
doubting you. I don't doubt you at all.
So, I just hate to
Chairman, can I
discourage.
suggest, given that there's
Mr.
some
Clark.
confusion
Yeah, there's
here,
some
that we table
confusion.
this appointment until the next meeting and get some clarity on things? Assuming that there wasn't an urgency associated with the application.
Plus, you have this going before who? The Attorney General?
Well, the governance committee is,
Oh, yep.
I think it was,
No,
So there is confusion.
combination of committees that was voted
Yeah.
at town meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
yes, well, I mean, basically, we have to see if the Attorney General
Sure.
says okay.
Yeah.
And at that point,
But
we
there
need to-
is some confusion on it.
right, at the point when the
Okay.
Attorney General, if in fact the Attorney General says yes, we have to
All right, so,
figure it.
And there's 5 members, 3 alternates, there's 8 as required on here. And it's actually an appointment of the town administrator, but we've been doing it as a selectman, but we'll clarify that for the next meeting.
Yeah, there seems to be a little confusion, so I'd suggest we table this appointment for now.
okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling this item till next time for clarification? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's 4-0, we table it. Not that we're throwing it out, we're tabling it.
Thank you very much.
For
Thank
further
you,
information.
thank you, Sammy.
Thank you for your input. Okay, all right, minutes for April 21st.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, any additions or omissions or
Should we-
anything?
Excuse me, should we wait for Alan, since he was,
For the minutes? No, as long as we have a majority that can
Okay.
approve them.
Well, we were all here,
Yeah.
all the 4 of us, so why
Okay.
not? Okay, all right. Is there a second? Did you?
Ron seconded it.
Okay, all right, any omissions or additions, or, okay? All those in favor of adopting the minutes for April 21st, 2015, say aye.
Aye?
aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, we accept those minutes. All right, okay, our schedule for June, July, and August. All right, you've all seen it.
June 16th.
So do we have a consensus?
Just announce them.
Okay, we just did. June 16th, July 21st, August 18th. Those are our 3 meetings for the summer. And those are non-tie required, right?
Non-tie required.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
I think you should have the words.
And whatever is appropriate for you gals, fine. Okay, all right. Public comment period. We got anybody that would like to address us this evening? We'd love to hear from you. Okay? All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, oh my gosh,
Okay, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye?
aye.
Unanimous.